So my favorite recipe for chocolate chip cookies is one that I've been making for years. It's always received well. It takes next to no effort, and since I've been doing it for so long, it really takes next to no time. 20 minutes just for mixing the ingredients together, half an hour if I'm particularly distracted. So the recipe is really good. It starts off with melting rather than creaming your butter, which I like because if you have to leave the butter out to soften, it takes a million years. The recipe's not as good if it's not soft enough. You can forget about it, then you have to make them later than you thought. Much easier to just melt it. And I think it also contributes a little bit to the texture of the cookie, gives it a little bit of kind of crisp around the edges. After your butter's melted and cooled slightly, you mix in a combination of brown and white sugar, twice as much brown sugar as white sugar. If you make cookies with all white sugar, the texture is overall crispier. If you do it with brown sugar, it's softer. So the combination really gives you that nice blend of crispy and chewy, and slightly more brown sugar makes for a slightly softer cookie, which I really like. So I generally don't mess with that combination. After that's blended together, you add in 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. There is a reason that you do a yolk rather than a whole egg. I do not remember what it is. I think it also, something again with the texture probably. But you do that one at a time. You put in a little vanilla, or a lot of vanilla if you're me and enjoy vanilla. Generally I like to use Mexican vanilla for recipes with chocolate in it. It really enhances the flavor of the chocolate, which is good for chocolate chip cookies. So after that's all combined, you want to add in a little bit of baking powder, a little bit of salt. I usually do a little more salt. Salt and chocolate is not the usual combination, but it really enhances the flavor. So you don't want to go overboard, but a little goes a long way. And then you blend in your flour, and that's your dough. Generally, at this point, I like to stick it in the fridge for about an hour. The dough is a little sticky when it's first done, harder to shape, so putting it in the fridge kind of lets the ingredients all settle a little more and makes it easier for you to roll them into cookies. And once the rolling into cookies stage comes around, you can do them in whatever size is best, obviously, whatever you want. I generally like to do a little bigger than a tablespoon. I think it gives it they're not too big, but they're just the right size to get that crispy on the outside, chewy on the inside texture. Then you put them in an oven at 325 degrees. You bake them for around 10 minutes. You really need, with chocolate chip cookies, to watch them. You don't want to, underbaking is better than overbaking, because if you overbake, they get all like crispy and hard and they don't last as long. So you want to look for them when they're a little underbaked, because they'll keep baking on the hotness of the baking sheet.